Good evening. Pretty late evening for some of you. However, I have chosen to do this every night at 10 o'clock uh, because this is like my absolute quiet time of reading something before going to sleep. So I decided that I'll do it around 10 o'clock. Also, possible that a lot of people wind up with their day and may have a little time to log in and join me live. Or then it's the end of the day. You can watch the recording whenever. So let me just check the time. We have about a minute to go, just less than a minute. I hope you all have been getting a chance to watch the recordings. Um, Let me know how it's been going for you watching the recordings, or if there's any message that has made a difference for you. How smart. I forgot to put my headphones on. Hi, Radha. I've just put my headphones on. Maybe now that you're online, you could let me know that the sound quality is better or it's audible. Okay. So today the chapter name, chapter 10, we're in chapter 10. And like I had mentioned last night before closing, it has a very interesting name. Chapter 10 of part 2. It's called Stealing Freedom for Your Soul. So I was quite fascinated. I haven't read this before. Now I'm reading as I'm going. So this afternoon when I was reading it, so what I do is I read it once, read the whole thing for my own understanding, grasping, and then I reread it to underline and make notes for what I'm going to share on the FB Live. So I was very intrigued what Michael, the author of this book, The Untethered Soul, meant by saying stealing freedom for your soul. That word stealing really caught my attention. So with that curiosity, I began to read, and hopefully with that curiosity you will listen on. The prerequisite to true freedom is to decide that you do not want to suffer anymore. Now that itself, the first line itself caught my attention. It didn't even strike me like I'm not suffering. That's the first thought that came to my mind the moment I read it. So what true freedom are you talking about as a prerequisite that I have to want to not suffer anymore, right? He says the prerequisite to true freedom is to decide that you do not want to suffer anymore. You must decide that you want to enjoy your life and that there is no reason for stress, inner pain, or fear. Every day we bear a burden that we should not be bearing. Now, as every line I read, I could hear my mind chatter start. What burden is he talking about? I'm not suffering. And I was watching and listening to that voice. And I did not let myself get drawn into that, because if I had that I'm not suffering, I'm not carrying any burden, then I would not have been able to receive with a lot more clarity or openness what this chapter is trying to convey to me. Okay? Every day we bear a burden that we should not be bearing. We fear that we are not good enough or that we will fail. Now that is what, excuse me, it's a little cold today in my house. That word or that phrase is what caught my attention. We fear that we may fail. And I actually thought about that, you know. It's not that something, I actually contemplated that quite a bit before even reading on. Is that a fear or is that a thought that is somewhere in the background constantly there, that I will fail or I could fail, or what if I fail? Then what will happen? And I realized, sorry, I'm so sorry about that. I realized that, most often that thought is lingering in many ways. It can be small, big, but it's there. Even a small thing like if I'm cooking a dish and what if it doesn't turn out well? That mind chatter. Or I'm suggesting something to the children, or I'm taking a decision on the younger one's behalf, and then the thought is like, what if it's not the right thing? What if that fails? What will happen? So that, or let's say I am going to do something for myself. I'm following my intuition, but I became aware that that voice is there in the background. We experience insecurity, anxiety, and self-consciousness. I become self-conscious. What will so-and-so say? What will so-and-so think? How will they react? We fear that people will turn on us to take advantage of us or stop loving us. Oh my God, that one really hit home. All of these things burden us tremendously, and then the moment I read that, it was literally like I became aware of this weight on my shoulders. As we try to have open and loving relationships, and as we try to succeed and express ourselves, there is an inner weight that we carry. This weight is the fear of ourselves. There is an inner weight this weight is the fear of experiencing pain, anguish, or sorrow. Every day we are either feeling it or we are protecting ourselves from feeling it. Now, in yesterday's chapter, he spoke in depth about how we either, do things to push away a certain feeling, or if you're aware of it, we don't do much to remove it. We actually try to protect ourselves from feeling it. We look at what he means over here. So either we are feeling it or we are protecting ourselves from feeling it. That is exactly what is going on with the mental and emotional energies that make up our psyche. Your inner sensitivities expose you to a constant suffering to one degree or another. You're either trying to stop suffering or you're controlling your environment to avoid the suffering, or you're worrying about the suffering in the future. This state of affairs is so prevalent that you don't see it, just as a fish doesn't see the water. So like I said in the beginning of this, that I didn't even realize that there is a suffering of this kind going on inside my head. You become so used to that just literally 10 minutes before I connected to live, I sat and I was just listening to that voice. It just doesn't stop. There's something or the other. But it's just that over the years, the practice that I have done, the deep meditations and things like that, Somewhere I have been able to disassociate myself enough with it that oftentimes now I don't listen to it. But it doesn't mean that it stopped. It's just that I'm not listening to it. And at times it feels like it's quiet. It does. Sometimes it does go quiet. But yeah, it's still most of the time talking. You only notice that you're suffering when it gets worse than usual. You admit you have a problem when it gets so bad that it actually begins to affect your everyday behavior. People are constantly thinking things like, what if I get put on the spot? What should I say? I get so nervous if I'm not prepared. That is suffering, he says. That constant anxious inner talk is a form of suffering. Can I really trust him? What if I expose myself and I get taken advantage of? I don't ever want to go through that again. That is the pain of having to think about yourself all the time. Why do we have to think about ourselves all the time? Because it has not been okay for a long time. So to end this suffering, what Michael the author suggests is first realize that your psyche is not okay. I mean, when it says your psyche is not okay, it doesn't mean that there's a problem in terms of, like a mental disorder. It's not what he's talking about. That something is not okay inside. Then acknowledge that it does not have to be that way. It is truly a gift just to realize that you don't have to put up with or protect your psyche. At the same time, just as, he gives a lovely example here. Just as your body sends pain displays or other symptoms when it's not well. Pain is not bad. It's how the body talks to you. Any kind of pain, not major pain, but even a leg pain or a slight headache. Knees are hurting, heels are hurting. Just something. Your body is trying to communicate with you. So in the same way, the body is communicating through its universal language. Your psyche is communicating through its universal language, fear. So the body's language is to give some sort of an intensity to communicate with you. The psyche is trying to say something's not okay by using the language that it can get our attention, and that is fear. Self-consciousness, jealousy, insecurity, anxiety, they are all fear. The mind is constantly trying to give you advice about how to make it all okay, because it is fearful of everything. So it's got this huge big task. It thinks that it has to ensure that everything is okay. The signs of the body breaking are pain and weakness. The signs of the psyche breaking are underlying fear. Just watch and you'll see that your mind is constantly telling you what to do. It's so true. Think about it. Or listen to your mind. Constantly giving you ideas and suggestions and telling you do this or don't do this, or you should do this or you shouldn't do this, or they should do this or they shouldn't have done that, or they could have done that. Either giving some sort of a chatter inside or trying to control the outside. Your thoughts tend to focus on what is bothering you today, or it could be any other day actually. Why is it bothering, and what can you do about it? If you don't do something about it, it will go on and on. You'll realize that the advice your mind is giving you is through its fears, just what I was telling you about. External changes are not going to solve your problem because they don't address the root of your problem. Again, very similar to what we talked about in yesterday's In Depth. Imagine what fun life would be, if you could enjoy things and you could actually get to know people instead of needing them. I really, really liked this line. It really got me thinking. What is this need? We don't realize. I love making friends. So many people say, I love socializing. I love talking to people. I really enjoy that. Okay, brilliant. That's superb. But have you ever thought that when you're not getting to spend time with people, are you okay with that? If you're okay with that, fantastic. That you're okay to be by yourself also, and you're absolutely okay to be amongst people also. However, if it brings any kind of discomfort to you when you're alone, and then you're trying to find ways to be around people or to be with people, or you're, trying to call somebody, go there, come over on the phone, then from there you say, yeah, I just love to stay in touch, I just love to socialize. Then that's what he talks about. You're doing things externally to avoid feeling that discomfort of being alone. What he's suggesting and what I keep talking about, repeating, of course, on elaborating on these points, is go back inside and check what is that discomfort. So that's what he's saying. Imagine what fun life would be if you could enjoy things and you could actually get to know people instead of needing them. You're capable of achieving that state. It's never too late. You're capable of ceasing listening to the problems coming from your psyche. Okay? You can wake up in the morning, look forward to the day. Work can be fun. Family can be fun. That does not mean you don't do your best. You just have fun doing your best. Live your life without getting uptight. Live life instead of fearing or fighting it. Okay? Telling your mind it's not your job to fix the problems. That's a wonderful input I got, actually, to tell my mind, you know what, buddy, it's okay. You don't have to solve everything. You don't have to keep coming up with solutions or suggestions or advice, stopping me from doing something out of fear. Fear-based decisions coming as suggestions or advice from my mind are not allowing me to receive the flow of life that is coming towards me. There could be unknown events just around the corner. It could be good or bad. That again is a judgment. But there is something around the corner. Sometimes people say uncertainty. I don't like uncertainty. What is that? I don't like uncertainty. Around the curve, how would you know what's coming? Life is offering us things every moment. But if you're going to stay put and saying, no, till I don't know what's coming up, I'm not going to make a call. I'm not going to take a decision. I'm going to stand right here. Hey, if you're standing right there, how are you going to turn around that curve to see what's there? The curve isn't going to come and straighten itself in front of you. So life isn't going to be doing that. So if you decide not to look at that discomfort, then I wonder how many opportunities we miss like that. So when I told my mind, or we can tell our mind, that you don't have to fix everything, it has created fear and anxiety. It cannot control the weather and other natural forces, nor can it control people, places, and things around us. That realization is good, to have that realization. Amma, I'm so happy to see you. Everything will be okay as soon as you are okay with everything. I love this line. I put it in asterisks. Everything will be okay as soon as you are okay with everything. Your mind is not the guilty party, actually. Your mind is innocent. It can be used to ponder great things, solve scientific problems, and serve humanity. You are the one who is trying to use the analytical mind to protect yourself from the natural unfolding of life. The key is to be quiet. Watch your mind and just relax. He said it very simply. You are not the thinking mind. You are aware of the thinking mind. You are the consciousness. Thinking is something you watch the mind do. You are just in there. Okay? I like that. Thinking is something you watch the mind doing. You are just there. You are the consciousness. Create moments of centered consciousness. Conscious of being conscious. How do we do that? He's given some suggestions like, before you before you drive off, you just, we're so busy going somewhere that we're not even realizing we're sitting in the car, switching it on, and boom, we're just zooming away. So he says, the moment you sit in the car and, switch it on, just for a few seconds, become conscious. Okay, what's the chatter going on? Am I already there? Is the mind already preparing where I'm going? How is it going to be? When will I come back? When I come back, I have to do this. On the way, I have to do all of this. For me, it's like most of the time, what time will I be back? And I have to do grocery shopping, and I need to be back before this much time, so that I don't catch the traffic. And I'm like, oh my God, I have just sat in the car to go where I have to, and my mind is already telling me what time I should be heading back. Interesting. What are you saying? I'm not saying that, by the way. Mind is innocent. It's the author of this book, The Untethered Soul, Amma, Michael A. Singer. I've been reading this every day, excerpts from it. So I'm so happy that you're here today. Okay. So yeah, he says, create moments of centered consciousness. Maybe just before starting your day. It's like a meditative practice. Whenever, you could be just doing anything and just pause for a moment and say, okay, what's going on? Okay, this is what's going on. So you can just watch, listen, and that's it. Conscious of being conscious. Now what used to hold you down becomes what wakes you up. At some point in the journey, it all becomes heart and not mind. This is again connected to a couple of chapters earlier when we were reading about how the chakras get blocked, the energy flow gets blocked, and especially in the heart center. So when you're keeping your heart open, the heart center open, and you're constantly watching your mind and not getting drawn into it, that's when he says at some point in the journey, it all becomes heart, not mind. When you are conscious, the shifts of energy in your heart cause you to instantaneously be aware. The very thing that was holding you in is now helping you out. This path of letting go allows you to free your energies so that you can free yourself. And that's when it struck me when he said that, the title, Stealing Freedom from Your Soul. So it's like you're stealing away the attention that we've been unknowingly giving the mind all this time, stealing it away and giving freedom to our soul. This path of letting go allows you to free your energies so that you can free yourself. By untethering yourself from the bondage of your psyche, you actually have the ability to steal freedom for your soul. That's what he's talking about. This freedom is so great, it has been given a special name, liberation. So that's it. It was a small chapter. That brings us to the end of chapter 10 of this book, part 3. We will have one more chapter tomorrow. The name is Pain, the Price of Freedom. Interesting, no? And then after that we will start part 4. So leave your comments, please. I would really like to know what you thought about today's topic and my sharing. If it helped, whenever you watch this, I'm very grateful. Whoever joins in live or later every night with me, 10 p.m. Indian Standard Time. Until tomorrow, take care of yourself. Love you. Good night.